Hi guys, Bran here, and today we have the Confessions of a Tunneler, because I tunnel quite a lot. I've noticed that this is a thing that I do pretty consistently. I would say every other game, every 1 out of 3 games, but that's still a lot. While I don't make an intentional habit to go out of my way to tunnel people, usually it just ends up happening a lot. And I wanted to talk about the scenarios that I get into where I tunnel, because there's kind of like this misnomer out there in the DBD community that tunneling is on purpose, tunneling is always malicious. I had a situation last week where I had somebody who used to watch the channel like blow up on me, call me pathetic, and a lot of other horrible stuff because they got tunneled in one of my games. And I will show you the 4 main reasons that I end up tunneling for, and it's never a malicious like intent behind any of those tunnels, and how it may even be your fault. Okay, so number 1, the main reason that I tunnel is on accident. Yep, you heard me right. Sometimes I just don't even plan to. Sometimes I just lose track of who was on hook last. When you're playing a super fast killer like Blight, or even Billy, or somebody who's super efficient at downing people like Huntress, sometimes you just lose track of who hooked who and who was on hook last and who was where. Like, the survivors see the hook progress. That's something to keep in mind, is that the survivors always see the hook progress of every survivor on the team. The killers don't. So it's entirely up to the killer's memory to remember who is on death hook and who isn't. And sometimes I just forget who's on death hook. I forget who was on hook last because I'm having chases with 3 other people besides you. And when I come back to you, I'm like, I don't know what hook you're on. I don't know if you just came off hook. If I see you, I am the killer, so I'm going to come after you. I don't necessarily think, I'm like, is that person being tunneled right now? No, I'm just being an efficiency machine. I just go do the thing that is efficient, which, as killer, if I see a survivor, I'm going to go try and kill said person. Wild concept. So I don't really think about like, oh, well, maybe they just came off hook. I just kind of go, oh, there's a person, I go after them, and I'm not keeping a track book in my head of like, oh, who's on what hook and who just came off hook. The situation I talked about earlier where I got called pathetic by an old viewer came from the fact that there were 3 Nias. They were dressed differently, but there were 3 Nias, and usually my brain goes, okay, Dwight's on second hook, or like Fang's on first hook, but there were 3 Nias, so I just didn't know who came. I didn't know which Nia was on hook last. And apparently that was enough to call me pathetic, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, number 1 is an accident. Did not mean to do these things. Number 2 is probably also the most common way that I end up tunneling, and it's when survivors run directly into me. And survivors run directly into me for one of 2 reasons. One is understandable, but dumb, and the other one is just outright stupid. The first one is they have BT, or they have Decisive Strike. So essentially, instead of using BT or Decisive Strike to be able to get away from the killer, they come off hook and they run directly at me. So either I wait out the BT, or I eat the DS and down them relatively quickly afterwards, and then they get mad and say I'm a tunneler. Food for thought, maybe don't waste your perks that are supposed to being used for you to get away from the killer to run at the killer and force your abilities. You don't have to do that. These perks are made here as a defensive option for you to get away from the killer. So maybe don't use them offensively and whine when you have no defenses left after you have used up your strong perks. And the second part, which is a little more unfortunate, is some survivors just don't have good awareness at all. A lot of the times, I feel like when survivors run directly into me after coming off hook, they're just not listening to the tear radius, they're just not panning their camera, and they just have no idea where I am, even though I'm clearly within tear radius. They just kind of like run straight at me just because they're, bless their heart, just not that good at the game. So they just run straight into me. And me as killer, once again, it is my job to attack and subdue the survivors. So if somebody runs straight into me, I'm not gonna be like, oh, poor thing left out in the cold. Did you just come off hook? Oh, I'm gonna be like, oh, stab. Like it's what I do. It's what my role does. It's what I do. So even if it's like completely just because of like not good abilities as a survivor and you just run into me, I'm still gonna hate you. Like there's nothing. I'm not gonna stop out of like the kindness of my heart. No, it's just like, it's a dumb play, and the only way you're going to improve and not make dumb plays is if bad consequences happen when you make those terrible plays. That's how you learn. It's like, how I was a kid, like you don't touch a hot stove because it hurts, you learn. The third one is probably the most frustrating for me because, like, it feels bad on all sides. Like, it doesn't feel good no matter, like, what side of it is you're on. Is when somebody unhooks a survivor and then the unhooker hides or runs away. I can't tell you how many times, like, I have no info on where anybody is. And then while I'm still in Terrius, while I'm still, like 16 meters from the hook, somebody unhooks. So I turn around and I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to let them heal. Like, they're literally in Terrius. So I'll break up the heal and I'll just chase the unhooker. And the unhooker is either hidden or they have used, like, sprint burst to just run away, or Lithe and just sped away. And the only person left out here in the middle of this dead zone or near this hook is the person that just came off hook. Now, I'm not going to go chase down that person that just sprint bursted over to Shack if there's somebody in a dead zone right in front of me. It doesn't matter if they just came off hook or not. It was up to that survivor, that unhooker, to stay and take the aggro for that person that just came off hook. That is your responsibility. That is your responsibility. And that's not coming from somebody who never plays Survivor. I play Survivor like twice a week. And that is what I do. If somebody is coming to hook, and this person has just come off hook and they're going to get hooked again, I stick around because it's more important that I take the aggro, I take the aggression from the killer than that person getting a second hook state, getting tunneled, and, you know, pushing us further away from victory in the game. It is just a bad play to unhook someone and leave them for dead. It's just a bad play. It's just not smart. And like I said with the last one, it's not the killer's job to have mercy in their heart and just, like, let you get away with bad plays. The only way you're going to improve is if you learn from your bad plays. If bad things happen when you make mistakes. Like I said in the last example, if you touch the stove as a kid and it burns your finger, you're not going to do it again because you're like, ow, that hurt. But if, like, for some reason Survivor was the expectation that, you know, there should be no consequences for bad plays, or maybe they just, like, literally don't understand that these are, like, actually awful, terrible plays to make, and they expect you, they're preying upon your personality, your kindness, to essentially, you know, not let them get a free pass for making a terrible play. And that's not how this works, buddy. It's literally not how this works. It's literally not how this works. And the last one is probably the most malicious form of tunneling that I actually do. It's the closest I come to actually, like, really actually going to hard tunnel people and being, like, rude and mean about it. But even then, I don't even think that that's the case. It's just kind of like a tactical thing. Is when the game gets below 2 gens, someone needs to be dead in the game. So that's just the flow of the game. That is how this works. If you are at 2 gens and someone on that 4-man team is not dead yet, you are behind. You will not win this match if somebody is not dead by 2 gens. That's not always the case, right? That's not a 1-to-1, especially if you're running stuff like No Way Out or Blood Warden, or the team gets really greedy altruistically at the end. There are many scenarios where that's not a 1-to-1 case, but for the most part, if somebody's not dead, if somebody's not dead by 2 gens out of the 4-man team, you're going to have a rough rest of the game. You are not likely to win that match. So you need to kill somebody within those last 2 gens before the end game starts. You want to have as little of the survivors left in the end game as possible, because handling 1 or 2 survivors in the end game is way easier than 3 or possibly all 4 of them. So sometimes it's in my best interest to double hook someone. Not triple hook them, but double hook them. Back-to-back hook this person because I need somebody out of this game. I need somebody gone because my chances of winning have gone drastically down because nobody was dead by that 2nd gen. That's just smart thinking. That's me making an intelligent play. That's not even like sweating. That's just like making a smart decision. You know, like that's what you do. And I think that it gets confused a lot that, like, hey, I can bring like DS dead hard and like slam gens, but like you can't double hook somebody in the end game. Like, that's not how this works. Like, you're trying to win too, but so am I. And I feel like so much of this game comes down to this misunderstanding of, like, this like wavering between I want to sweat, but I also want to have fun. And we teeter-totter between this idea of like, oh no, I'm having fun now. And you ruined the fun. And then like, I was sweating and you got stomped, haha, idiot. You know, it's like, you flip the switch on whatever benefits you the most. But yeah, that is how you catch up. That is how you put yourself in a good position for endgame. And it's not malicious, it's just trying to win. But yeah, those are the confessions of a tunneler, friendo. Hopefully that helps you better understand why killers decide to tunnel and how it's not this malicious, mean thing most of the time. And to kind of look for situations in which the tunneling perhaps was happening as a direct result of a decision made in the game and not necessarily because the killer is a mean person. I'm not saying it never happens. I'm saying there are plenty of killers who go out of their way to just like, oh, this person flashlight clicked at me once, time to just 3-hook them, get them out of the game. That does happen, right? I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I'm just saying that in my cases, when I watch killer streamers, when I stream myself and I'm playing the game, these are the main reasons I see tunneling happening. I very rarely see people like I want them dead, you know? So yeah, hopefully this has helped you understand a little bit why tunneling occurs. But other than that, I don't have anything else for you, friend. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in tomorrow's video. And if I don't, I will see you when I see you, friends. Goodbye.